Alright, check this bike out. Just got this thing. Quick walk around of it. Pretty cool vintage bike. Take a look at the engine. You can see it's missing the carburetor. It's a little rough. Looks like it's been sitting outside for a little bit. A little bit of mold growing on it. Rims look pretty decent. Check out the old stickers. Fender's cracked. Old repair on there. Grips are like melting off. This one's pretty rough. I do have the stator and the CDI. And I do have the silencer for it as well. Missing the rear fender. Big back tire. Looks like it's missing the air box as well. Here's the VIN. According to the VIN, this is a 1977 model. Aluminum tank. Pretty cool. Aluminum tanks go for big money. Basically why I bought it. Tank is in pretty good condition. A couple small dents up here. Those can come out though. Other than that, it's in excellent condition. Seat's pretty decent. That's the original seat. But this bike is locked up. So, I don't know what's going on with that, and the clutch isn't really hooked up either. But we'll take a closer look. We'll get her in the garage and start digging into it. See what we can find. And then I might have a carburetor that'll work. So if we get it freed up today, we'll attempt to start her up. Alright, stay tuned. We'll go over the whole thing and see why this thing's locked up. Alright, so for some reason it's locked up and does not turn over. It looks like it's actually welded on right here, the kickstart. That's how you know it was ridden hard. Thing's pretty rough looking, like I said before. Missing the carburetor. It's missing quite a few things. The back fender, the carburetor, the grips. A couple cables are broken on it. Missing the gas cap. The air box. We do have the CDI. The CDI is actually over here on this bike, and then the stator is right here for it. There's the stator. And I kind of bought this bike as a parts bike for this one because the guy was selling it and he put a bunch of these parts on this bike and he wouldn't take those off and sell me this bike separately from this bike. So I kind of had to buy both bikes to get the parts for this bike, which hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, so I ended up with both bikes. I knew the gas tank was at least worth $200, so I paid $200 for this one and then $100 for the other one over here. You guys saw the video on that. But yeah, the gas tank was locked up. It's been sitting in a barn for a long time. I think he said 15 years. And he just bought the property and he was just clearing everything out. So this one you can see was sitting in the mud when I got there, at least. So he cleared out the barn and just put everything in the mud, I guess. So really it's pretty rough. We're just gonna kind of go over the whole thing and make sure nothing on the engine is cracked or anything. It looks like it's magnesium case cover on it. The back brake isn't hooked up. You can see it's missing that. So it's just really rough. The best thing about it is the tank, like I said before. But let's get the seat off of here and the tank, and we'll begin working on this thing. I think the first step is going to be to probably take off the head and see what's going on. But the tank, you can see, really nice, super light. But yeah, that's a really nice tank. Does have the coil on it right here. Pipe is pretty nice, no dents in the pipe. Big old pipe on it. Just kind of trying to see what could have gone wrong with it. Let's see if it doesn't turn. It's completely locked up. I'm thinking maybe water got down the cylinder and locked her up, but we'll investigate further and see what's going on. I might want to start with a pressure washing. That might be the first step. You can see all the gunk and stuff in there, or at least vacuuming out. We might just vacuum it out. It's not like too bad on the outside. We'll probably vacuum it and then spray it down before we start digging into the engine. I guess we can start with the oil, see if there's any oil in it. Be a good first step. Oh, that was pretty loose on there. So somebody definitely checked the oil at one point. Let's see here. Is there a dipstick? Nope. Doesn't look like a whole lot in there. Let's see, stick this down there. See what we get. Pretty dry so far. Not much oil going on. See, pretty dry. So that's probably not a great sign. Oh, there we go. That went a little bit deeper. Oh, no, I can't get it back out. There we go. Still really dry. So I don't think there's really any oil in it. So that's a good start. Let's quick take a peek and take off this stuff right here. See what's behind here. I'm afraid to look in there. Let's see, we can kind of see it from the piston. Looks pretty good. Kind of see it back there. It's not super rusty, so there's a spider in there, you can see on the right side. So it has been left open for a while. That's probably what happened, is water got in there. So hopefully the crank is still fine. But before we dig any further, let's get the vacuum out and vacuum this thing off. Alright, we got most of the engine all vacuumed off here. So we've got a clean working surface. Let's start by getting the spark plug out. Let's see what that looks like. Doesn't look like there's a shifter connected to it either. Spark plug had some water on the tip of it, so that's not a good sign. But it looks pretty white. It doesn't look like it's black at all. So maybe it was running lean and just kind of blew up. Not really sure. We'll take the scope and look down the cylinder once. There's the piston. You can see. Piston doesn't have much carbon on it. Doesn't look like it's got a hole in it or anything. So I think we're going to be fine there. I guess we'll take off the pipe. Let's throw a little WD-40 down there, up here. I can hear the water in there. A little bit of oil down there as well. Let that sit for a bit. Let's see if we can go over and get it to move at all. Oh yeah, she's locked up. Yeah, she's pretty tight. Alright, well, let's get this pipe up next. It's kind of in our way to get the head off here, so looks like we've got one bolt right here. I think two down here. And then we've got one back there. So let's start by getting these off over here. Alright, those two little guys came off. Piston looks pretty good in there. You can see the rings. Kind of hard to see, but yeah, I see one of the rings. So I guess we'll get the head off next. Looks like there's a couple nuts on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Alright, let's see what's underneath. Is there gonna be a bunch of water in there? Ooh, the cylinder looks pretty good. Looks like there's slight surface rust. Check that out. Cylinder looks pretty clean. Piston looks really good in there. So far, it's not looking too bad, but I'm guessing the piston stuck to the cylinder, so it might be worse past the piston. Looks like we're gonna have to take off the cylinder, see what that looks like. finish up getting these off. But before we do that, we'll check out the head. Head looks perfect, so I don't think this was blowing up or anything. Otherwise, these would have little pittings on it. So it looks like it was probably just frozen from water getting into the cylinder. But we'll check out the crank and the piston, and we'll determine that after. But we'll get these off, and then we'll come back and take the cylinder off. Alright, let's see if we can get the cylinder off here. Budge a little bit. Oh, it's starting to come. There we go. Whew. That was on there pretty good. You can see the rust down in there. Piston was definitely locked up. Alright, and then you can see all the rust on the piston there. This is looking pretty rough. We'll see if the crank spins. I think the crank is locked up in there. Bearing on the piston feels fine. Let's see, I think this will all wipe off. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Piston rings are free as well. Piston looks like really nice actually. But that crank in there, it's a little rough. I think she's locked up, just a tad. We'll try to get this thing free. Ooh, man, not looking good. Put a little oil down there. Little WD-40. Alright, well so far it's not looking too good. Crank looks a little rough. We're going to, oh, it's moving a little bit now. Ah, what's happening here? The rod's moving a little bit. Slowly moving. I think we're gonna get the piston off. so we can really crank on that rod. See if she frees up. Just take it slow. Yeah, we'll get the piston out first. Alright, well, the piston's off. Now I've got access to the crank here. And I'm just going to kind of move it back and forth here. See if we can get it to free up without breaking anything. Rod's pretty free now. And doesn't feel too bad. Everything else is locked up though, I think. We might crank on the flywheel here, see if it moves at all. Pretty on there. Just gonna pound this lightly just to see if it loosens it up a bit. There we go. It's coming now. So I pound on the top of this. Looks like it's coming. Let's see if this will move now. Looks like there's some crap at the top here. Ooh. A bunch of carbon built up on here. Alright, we'll come back when that's all loose. Alright, so the crank rotates pretty smoothly now, you can see. It's better if you kick it over. But I think it's as good as we're going to get for right now. You can see the rod is pretty loose in there. But we'll let that sit for a little bit longer. The longer we let that sit, the better it gets. So then we'll have to remove all that oil out of there. All those chunks. Get that all cleaned out. And then I want to drain the oil and see what that looks like before moving on. But at least we got it free. And if you look, there's a little side to side play. Not a whole lot. Then like no up and down. So that rod, for some reason, the bearings are still good in there. And then there's no play at all in the flywheel. So the main bearings are probably fine as well. So we might get lucky here. Obviously, it's not looking great in there, but you know, if it rotates, we might have a chance of starting it up. And we'll get that all cleaned out of there, and then we'll put some fresh oil in there, and it should be good to go. And then we'll drain it out again. We'll do a couple of different flushes with it, just so we get all those carbon pieces out of there. But let's take a look at the oil in the case, see if there's anything in there. We're going to drain the oil out of here. You can see the drain plug is right there. You guys can see that or not. But let's get that cracked open. Looks like a bunch of water in there. Yikes. That's pretty rough. That's not good. So I think now we can check out the piston here, see if that's reusable. So there's a little bit of surface rust right on the skirt right there, but there's like zero blow by. Look at that. It almost looks like a brand new piston. It's crazy. Rings are both free, you can see. So that's probably going to be reusable. Let's see, what does this say? Looks like it's an 84mm piston. And let's see if the cylinder is going to be reusable here. Alright, there's a little bit of rust right there on it. Let's take a look at the bottom of it. Those are the reeds right there. Kind of cool how that works. A little bit of rust on the skirt, but nothing a hone won't take off, so I think that's going to be reusable as well. There's a little bit of rust down there too, you can see. But I think once we get that honed up, that'll look pretty good. So really, we just need a carburetor. We need to get the CDI and the stator on, put this thing back together, and attempt the first start. So that will be next video. Stay tuned for that. I am pretty happy that we got this thing freed up. I did not think it was going to unlock itself, but it looks like we got the crank free and we have some hope here. So this is just a beater bike. If this was actually a nice bike, obviously we'd put a new crank in it, but we're just going to see if it starts and go from there, because this bike is not worth much right now the way it sits. So anyway, stay tuned for next video. We will attempt to get this thing running and see what happens. If this thing runs, that's a miracle. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video. And until next time, we are out.